Cool. So here's the application. I use the GUI just to display it properly so I can explain firstly how it works. So yeah.
No problem.
So yeah, based off the requirements, I created the Scoreboard app. Um, like like was mentioned, should basically have the main idea of it is to create a table based off rankings of specific football teams in a league, but that table is calculated from certain results, like the score lines of each team's match, and then it creates the ranking table. So how it works? So over here, you can see here I have this input area where I can basically paste the match results one per line, and it shows the format here. So how I do that is I click this load file button, and when I click load file button, this dialog box pops up where I can basically um, paste the results of specific football teams. So if I go here, I'm gonna paste match week 1 results for the football league, and when I do that, it shows the results for that match week. So you can see here, for instance, on this first line, it's separated by different lines for each match. And on this first line, you can see this team won with this amount of points. So the score was 2. Then this team lost and they scored 1. And it's basically the same format for all the teams here. So now that I've pasted this in this input area, when I click process, right, what happens is it basically loads and shows this ranked table showing the different rankings of each team. So you can see the first team here, that's first place, and it goes all the way down to last place. And it just shows the different ranking. Teams that have the same ranking are basically teams that have the same points. Then you can see the matches played, the amount of matches played. You can see the goals that the first team scored, so the goals for. And then in this column I have goals against, which represents the goals conceded by the specific team. And then the goal difference, which is the difference between the goals scored and the goals conceded. So then it shows this table, and like if I load another file, it will basically update the ranking table according to my match results. So if I paste match week 2 and I process, then it shows now the points increased for specific teams that won, the matches played, and all the columns. Then basically I can basically reset the league. So when I click reset league, it basically removes the table again, and I can do the same thing and load the results one more time. Or it even shows here, and then process, and it shows basically the league table once again. So yeah, that's how it works. Then lastly, over here I can export this specific ranked table of the teams by clicking this export ranking to text file button. So when I click this, what happens, I can name the specific file, and I can save it, and then it's saved to my desktop, of course. So yeah, that's basically how it works on the UI. So let me explain the code. Yeah. So firstly, I have 4 classes, right? I have my team class, rank entry, the main app, and the league class. So I'm gonna first explain the team class. So basically, all this class does is like it represents one football team, and it basically models one team's performance in the league and provides all the data needed to calculate the rankings. So firstly, within the class I have these 5 fields, these variables. These variables make up one team. So you have the team name, the points that the team has, the goals that the team scored, so the goals for, the goals against, which are the goals that the team conceded, and the matches played, which is the total amount of matches the team has played. So all these fields here. Then I have this constructor, team constructor. Basically, it creates a new team with a given name. Then I have these getters, get name, will get the team name, get points, get goals for, goals against, and the get matches played, which gets all the amounts of matches that a team played. Then the get goal difference, which is basically the difference between the goals scored and the goals against. Then I have this method over here, add match method. All it does is updates the stats after a match. So when a specific team plays, what happens is it increases the matches played over here, increments it. The goals against gets increased, and the goals that the team scored over here. But all of this data is determined by the arguments that are passed into these parameters over here. Then what it also does is it increases the amount of points by 3 when a team wins, and basically increases the amount of points by 1 when a team draws, essentially. So that's what add match method does. And I have this two-string method. All it's doing is it's just formatting the data, so the team stats essentially. So that's my team class. Then I have this rank entry class. All it's doing is, so it doesn't do any calculations, it's just organizing and displaying like the ranking results on the scoreboard table. So there's two fields, rank and team. Then this constructor, which initializes those two fields, rank and team, and then the get rank getter here, and then I have a get team getter method over there. So that's the rank entry class. Then I have the league class. So this class is basically like managing the league essentially. So it's going to keep track of all the teams, process match results, and this is what actually calculates the overall rankings. So when I paste this data here, what actually calculates the overall rankings based on this data is this class over here. So firstly, in my class I have this map over here, named teams. So it's gonna store all the teams in the map as key value pairs essentially. Then I have this variable line pattern. What it does is it creates a line pattern format, but it does that using this regex package that I have imported over here. So it just formats the different lines that are pasted essentially in the input, right, according to the right format. So you can see it over here. So this would represent the first team, and then this would represent the second team essentially. Then I have this constructor league. It's currently empty because when a league starts, there isn't any teams in it yet before I once this load the data essentially. Then ensure team method is just going to make sure the teams exist in the league, and if it doesn't, it creates the teams. So that's what that method does. Then this just clears all the teams from the league. Then I have this process line method. So what this method does is when I paste the results in the input box, as I showed, it's gonna read like each match line. So for instance, it's gonna read like each match line, but it's gonna do that according to the line format, the line pattern that is basically over here, right? And it checks if that pattern is that format is correct, and if it is, then it reads that line and it uses that data to calculate like the ranking table. So that's why I placed here the line pattern over here, matcher, and then it's saved to this variable. Then as I said, if the line doesn't match, it just skips that line and it doesn't include it in the calculation, right? Then if the line if the specific line matches this specific line pattern over here, then we're gonna extract the team names and the scores from the line. So firstly here it extracts the team A name, then it extracts the goals that team A scored, then in this line of code extracts team B name, and then extracts the goals that team B scored essentially. Then here we call this ensure team method. So this ensure team method, as I explained, is this method here, is just making sure that the teams exist. So that it does that, it makes sure that the first team exists, then this makes sure that the second team exists in the league. Then here I'm getting both teams from the map, from the teams map using the get method, and I get team A. Then here we get team B. Then here we're updating the stats for both teams, so for both team A and team B. So how you do that is we call the add match method. So this add match method, believe I declared here in my team class that I explained first. So like I said, it just updates the stats after a match essentially by increasing the matches played, the goals for and the goals against, and the points. So when we call the method for team A, it updates the stats for team A, and we do the same for team B. Then it returns true. Then this is just converting a name to lowercase. This method here is a cteams method, which helps me add a list of teams to the league. And then here I have a get ranking method. So what this method does is just going to return the ranked list of teams based off my points. So after the calculation takes place, then it returns the list of teams. So how it does that is, first I have this array list, which is going to convert the map, which is the teams map that I declared up here. So it's currently holding all the teams. So we convert that into an array list over here. Then here we're going to use the sort method to sort the teams by points. So we do that saying list.sort, so we can sort all the teams by points. And how we do that is if team 2's points is not equal to team 1's points, then we basically sort them according to the specific points that they got. So the team with the highest points will be sorted first, and then will rank in descending order essentially. And if the teams basically have the same amount of points, then the teams will have the same ranking essentially. So just to come here to this while loop, right, to emphasize more what I'm saying, all this is going to do is loop through all the teams to assign the specific ranks, right? And as it does that, in this for loop, right, firstly here we declare a variable count, which is set to 0. So it stores the amount of teams that have the same points. So for instance, all these teams that have the same points, as you can see here, they have the same ranking. So the amount of times that teams have the same points is stored in here. How that's happening is this for loop, as it loops through the list of teams, we check if the points of a specific team is equal to another team's points, then we increment this count variable over here. And then this for loop is just going to add each team with the same points using the same rank number. So that's how we get each team with the same points having the same ranking essentially. So yeah, that's how that works. Then it returns ranked. So yeah, then that's basically the league class. It's just doing mainly that specific calculation after we load the team's results. Then lastly, I have this main app class. So basically this is basically where I run the program essentially. Then I basically use the GUI here. I won't explain the UI because it will take a while, but um, this basically stores all my core logic in the league class essentially. So firstly, I basically declared this league variable, which is going to hold the league logic, so the teams, the matches, and the points, and all that data. Then I have this default teams list is holding all the default teams in the league, as you can see. Then just to go down to the methods that help with loading a file, exporting a file, and so on. So firstly, over here I have this onload file method. So we can already assume that when we click this load file method, what happens is this method runs. So basically here what it does is, as soon as I click that button, it shows a window frame that pops up, which allows me to select a file. So once a file is selected, so if a file is approved, so if jfileChooser.approve option, then basically what happens is it calls this get selected file method, which helps me select a file. Then this try block runs, and it's just going to display the file content within that input area that I showed over there. So then it allows me to load a file, and it shows the file name that's loaded. So that's what onload file does. And then yeah, it takes a text file or a txt essentially. Then I have this on export method, which is helping me export the ranked table essentially. So it also has this dialog box that pops up, which allows me to export the file, then approve the option, then essentially this try block runs. So here I use buffered writer to basically write the data to a file, right? Using new file writer. That helps me export the file. Then within this for loop here, it's gonna write each team's details line by line. How it does that is it uses bw.write, and then it sets the string format over here. And as it does that, we call all these getter methods, which gets the ranking, the name, the points, goals scored, goals against, and the goal difference. So it gets all that data. And yeah, then it shows that the file was exported over here. Then process inputs, I'll say, is probably my most important method that I used. So this is when we click this process button, and it calculates the results and gives us the rank table. So it's going to process all the input lines from the text area. Then each line is a match result in a specific format. So what happens is, in the input area we have our results, and basically this if statement is just checking if we've pasted or loaded the match results first. And since we have, what happens here is we're just going to split the text into lines and process each match result, because each match result is pasted as different lines essentially. So what happens is, in this for loop, we just go through each line, which is basically the results, and as we do that, we process each line using this method. Then this is just going to update the ranking table after processing. So basically calling the get ranking method, like I explained earlier, and it gets all the rankings for the specific teams based off the results. Then it uses string.format to basically format the data. Then this just updates the status label text at the bottom. This is my main method, which runs the program. Then I declared another class called rank table model, and it's extending from this parent class abstract table model. So this is basically just going to display the ranked teams in a table format. So how it does that is, firstly, I have over here declared this basically array named calls, so it represents the columns. So you can see here, the first column is ranking, the team, points, and then all the way to the last column, which is goal difference. And then here, this array list holds all the rows in my table. Then I have the set data method, which is gonna update like the table data and it refreshes the display. Then these getters, like a get row, it's gonna get all the rows, get the row counts, it gets the column counts. Here I'm getting the column names, and lastly here, getting the get value at. So what this does is it's just gonna determine what data to show in each column. So as you can see, each column has specific data. That's because I use a switch case over here. So how this works is these two parameters, row index and column index, is gonna receive arguments based off the switch case. So within the switch case, I have this column index as a condition that I declared here. So each case is just gonna basically represent a column essentially. So for instance, here we have case 0, which is representing the first column, and when this runs, then basically it gets the ranking, and then it does the same for the next case, which represents the next column. So it's gonna get the name of the team, and then the next case getting the points. Here it gets the matches played, the goals scored by the first team in this column, then the goals conceded, and then in the last column it gets the goal difference, as you can see here, and then it just closes the program essentially. And yeah, that's basically how the main app class works, the whole application essentially. So yeah.
That's fine.
Okay. So I'm gonna put it here by this main method, and just to show that it shows the program. Then so you can see here it's on this invoke later method. Then when you run it and I step over, it runs the program. So it shows application is running, and then it shows the application. When I click load file, yeah, and then the application works. Is that what you're asking, or?
It's okay. You just explain what the debugger is doing. That's why I don't want you to go through all the methods. Okay. So you chose your main method as the starter point.
Yeah.
So you choose your main method in this case, and the debugger process.
Yeah.
Does everything make sense?
It makes sense, yes. It does. Yeah.
Right, it's fine. Because I don't want you to put breakpoints everywhere. It's just gonna take a long
for
time
instance,
to load.
Yeah, but like if I were to what's this? Say put my breakpoint here on load file. As soon as, so for instance, right, it's on load file now. So if I'm demonstrating the functionality of it, then if I click load file, then it steps over to this chooser method, or this chooser object, sorry, JFile chooser. Then when I step over, basically allows me to set the file filter and basically takes a txt file. Then when I step over, shows the dialog box, which it shows here, as you can see. Then I can basically choose the specific file that I want to upload. So on PSR results, sorry. As soon as I load that file, then it steps over here so it can approve the option. Once it approves the option, then selects that specific file, goes to the try block, it reads all the lines on the file that I selected. Then it sets the text in the input area so it displays the file content. Then it shows a status message that the file is loaded. Then when I step over, now the file is loaded and it shows the data here. So that's just one functionality with the debugger. So yeah.
That is okay.
Yeah.
That is honestly okay.
Yeah.
So that is your application. We notice how the debugger works with the application. It doesn't crash. So that is the point we were looking at.
Okay.
So far all I can say is your presentation was very good. You did a good job. Honestly, you explained the code clearly and made good changes to